What would you do if one act of kindness dragged you into a world where mercy could get you killed? Chapter 1. The fluorescent lights of Rosie's diner buzzed overhead as Aria wiped down table 7 for the third time that evening. Her feet screamed in protest, swollen from standing for 11 straight hours. The double shift was killing her, but her mother's medical bills wouldn't pay themselves. "Order up, Aria," Tony shouted from the kitchen window. She forced a smile and grabbed the steaming plates, delivering them to a couple by the window. As she turned back toward the kitchen, something caught her eye. A small shoe peeked out from beneath the corner booth. Aria's heart skipped. She approached slowly, crouching down to peer under the table. A pair of terrified brown eyes stared back at her. "Hey there, sweetheart," Aria whispered gently. "Are you okay?" The little boy couldn't have been more than 5 years old. His expensive clothes were rumpled and tear tracks stained his cheeks. He trembled violently, arms wrapped around his knees. "I'm not going to hurt you," Aria continued, extending her hand slowly. "My name is Aria. What's yours?" The boy said nothing. He just stared at her with those haunted eyes. Aria's maternal instincts kicked into overdrive. She glanced around the diner. No frantic parents searching for a lost child. No one even seemed to notice the boy was there. "Are you hungry?" she asked softly. The boy's stomach growled in response. Aria smiled. "I'll take that as a yes. Stay right here, okay? I'll be back." She hurried to the kitchen and grabbed a plate of chicken fingers and fries, then returned to the booth. The boy hadn't moved. Aria sat on the floor beside him, sliding the plate closer. "It's okay. You're safe." Slowly, hesitantly, the boy reached for a fry. As he ate, Aria noticed the way his hands shook, the way his eyes darted to every sound. This wasn't just a lost child. This was a traumatized one. "Tony," Aria called out. "Call the police. We have a lost kid here." 20 minutes later, 2 officers arrived. They tried to coax the boy out, but he only pressed himself further under the table. When one officer reached for him, the boy let out a silent scream, mouth open but no sound emerging. "Don't," Aria said firmly, positioning herself between them. "You're scaring him." She turned back to the boy. "Hey, it's okay. No one's going to force you to do anything. But it's getting late, and I bet you're tired. Will you come sit with me at the counter? We can have some ice cream." Something in her voice must have reached him because after a long moment, he crawled out and took her hand. His grip was desperate, like she was the only solid thing in a crumbling world. For the next 2 hours, Aria worked her shift with the boy attached to her side. She learned he wouldn't speak, wouldn't write his name, wouldn't respond to any questions. The police ran his description through their databases, but found nothing. "We'll have to take him to social services," Officer Martinez said reluctantly. "No." The word burst from Aria before she could stop it. She looked down at the boy, who had finally stopped shaking. "Just give me a few more minutes with him. Please." As she spoke, the diner's door chimed. Aria glanced up and felt her blood turn to ice. 5 men in black suits entered, moving with military precision. They weren't customers. The way they scanned the room, the bulges under their jackets, the cold calculation in their eyes. These were dangerous men. The lead man was tall, broad-shouldered, with dark hair graying at the temples. His face could have been carved from marble, all sharp angles and no warmth. His eyes swept the diner and landed on the boy. Those eyes flickered with something, relief? Anger? Before becoming cold again. "Matteo," the man said, his voice deep and commanding. The boy's entire body went rigid. He buried his face in Aria's side. "I'm Vincent Romano," the man said, approaching them. "That's my son." The officers immediately straightened, exchanging nervous glances. Even Aria, who knew nothing about organized crime, recognized fear when she saw it. "Mr. Romano," Officer Martinez stammered. "We were just leaving," Vincent finished coldly. "Thank you for your service." It wasn't a suggestion. The officers practically tripped over themselves getting out of the diner. Tony disappeared into the kitchen. The other customers suddenly found reasons to leave. Within minutes, the diner was empty except for Aria, the boy Matteo, and the 5 men in suits. Vincent's gaze shifted to Aria. She'd never felt so thoroughly examined in her life. Those eyes missed nothing. Her worn shoes, her stained uniform, the way she instinctively positioned herself between him and Matteo. "How long has he been here?" Vincent asked. "About 3 hours," Aria managed, trying to keep her voice steady. "He was hiding under a table. He won't talk." "He doesn't talk," Vincent corrected, his tone flat. "Not for 6 months." Aria's heart clenched. What happened to him? Vincent's jaw tightened. That's none of your concern. Matteo, we're leaving. He reached for the boy, but Matteo's grip on Aria's uniform turned vice-like. For the first time since she'd found him, he made a sound, a whimper of pure terror. Vincent froze. Something flickered across his face, too quick to identify. Matteo, he tried again, softer this time. It's safe now. We're going home. But Matteo wouldn't let go. He climbed into Aria's lap, wrapping his small arms around her neck, his face pressed against her shoulder. She could feel his heart hammering against her chest. I'm sorry, Aria whispered to Vincent, though she didn't know why she was apologizing. He's just scared. Vincent stared at his son, and for a moment, the mask cracked. Aria saw raw pain in his eyes, the kind that came from watching your child suffer and being powerless to stop it. Then the mask snapped back into place. What's your name? He demanded. Aria. Aria Foster. Aria Foster, Vincent repeated, as if committing it to memory. You work here? Yes. Family? The question felt invasive, but something told Aria that lying to this man would be a fatal mistake. My mother. She's sick. Vincent nodded slowly, processing. One of his men leaned in and whispered something. Vincent's expression never changed, but Aria got the distinct impression that he'd just learned everything there was to know about her. Matteo, Vincent said, his voice careful now. I need you to come home with me. You remember home, don't you? Your room? Your toys? Matteo shook his head against Aria's shoulder. Vincent's hands clenched into fists. Aria saw the tendons strain in his neck, the effort it took him to maintain control. Will you let me take him? Vincent asked Aria. It was phrased as a question, but she heard the underlying threat. Refuse, and there would be consequences. But when Aria looked down at Matteo, felt his desperate grip, she couldn't do it. Give him a minute, she said quietly. Please. He needs a minute. Vincent studied her for a long, tense moment. Then, impossibly, he nodded. 1 minute. Aria held Matteo, rocking him gently, whispering soothing nonsense. She didn't know what this child had been through, but she recognized trauma when she saw it. Her mother had worked in pediatric nursing before getting sick. Aria had learned young that sometimes people just needed someone to be gentle with them. It's okay, she murmured. I know you're scared. But that man, your father, he's worried about you. He came looking for you. That means he loves you. Matteo pulled back slightly, looking at her with those devastating eyes. Will you be brave for me? Aria asked. Just for tonight? Slowly, heartbreakingly, Matteo nodded. Vincent stepped forward, and this time, Matteo didn't fight when his father picked him up. But the boy kept his eyes locked on Aria, even as Vincent carried him toward the door. At the threshold, Vincent paused. Come to my estate tomorrow. 2 o'clock. He rattled off an address that Aria knew was in the wealthiest part of the city. We need to talk. About what? Aria asked, though she wasn't sure she wanted to know. Vincent looked at his son, who had finally, mercifully, closed his eyes. About why my son reached for you when he hasn't reached for anyone in 6 months. Then he was gone, his men following like shadows. Aria stood alone in the empty diner, her uniform still wrinkled where Matteo had clung to her. Her hands were shaking. She had no idea what she'd just gotten herself into. But she knew somehow that her life had just changed forever. Chapter 2. Aria stood at the iron gates of the Romano estate, her palms sweating despite the cool afternoon air. The address Vincent had given her led to a mansion that looked like it belonged in a European country, not the outskirts of their city. Stone walls stretched endlessly in both directions, topped with security cameras that probably cost more than her entire apartment building. She almost turned back 3 times on the drive over. But every time she thought about leaving, she remembered Matteo's face, those terrified eyes seeking comfort in a stranger. A voice crackled from the intercom. Name? Aria Foster. Mr. Romano asked me to come. The gates swung open silently. Aria drove her battered Honda up a driveway lined with manicured gardens and marble fountains. By the time she reached the circular drive in front of the main house, her heart was hammering. A woman in a crisp black suit waited by the entrance. Her expression was cold, assessing. Miss Foster. Follow me. The interior of the mansion was exactly what Aria expected. Vaulted ceilings, crystal chandeliers, artwork that probably cost more than she'd earn in a lifetime. But it felt empty somehow, like a museum rather than a home. They walked through a maze of corridors until the woman stopped at a set of double doors. Mr. Romano is inside. The doors opened into a study. Floor-to-ceiling bookshelves lined 2 walls. A massive desk dominated the space. And behind it sat Vincent Romano, looking every bit the dangerous man he clearly was. "Miss Foster," he said, standing. "Thank you for coming." "I wasn't sure I would," Aria admitted. Vincent's lips twitched, almost like a smile. "Honesty. That's rare in my world." He gestured to a chair across from his desk. Aria sat, feeling like she was being interviewed for a job she hadn't applied for. "How is Matteo?" she asked before Vincent could speak. "He's resting. He didn't sleep last night. Kept looking for you." The words hit Aria in the chest. "Looking for me?" Vincent leaned back, studying her. "My son witnessed his mother's murder 6 months ago. Since then, he hasn't spoken. Hasn't shown emotion. Won't let anyone touch him except me, and even then, only when absolutely necessary. Therapists, specialists, none of them have been able to reach him." Aria's throat tightened. "I'm so sorry. Yesterday, he reached for you. He clung to you. He let you comfort him." Vincent's voice was carefully controlled, but Aria heard the pain underneath. "Do you understand what that means? That he felt safe? That you got through to him when no one else could?" Vincent stood and walked to the window, hands clasped behind his back. For a moment, he looked less like a Mafia boss and more like a grieving father. "I'm going to make you an offer, Miss Foster. I've had you investigated. I know about your mother's stage 4 cancer. I know about the $300,000 in medical debt. I know you're 2 months behind on rent and about to be evicted." Aria shot to her feet, anger replacing fear. "You had no right." "I had every right," Vincent interrupted, turning to face her. His eyes were cold steel. "My son's well-being is at stake. I investigate everyone who comes near him. Then you know I'm nobody. Just a waitress trying to survive. I know you're desperate, and I'm going to use that desperation." The blunt honesty was almost refreshing in its cruelty. Vincent returned to his desk and pulled out a folder. "I'm offering you a position. Live-in nanny for Matteo. 6 months. $500,000. Aria's legs nearly gave out. $500,000. That would pay off her mother's debt, cover treatment, give them breathing room for the first time in years. "Why me?" she whispered. "Because my son responds to you. Because he needs someone who can reach him. Because I'm running out of options and watching him fade a little more every day. There has to be a catch." Vincent's smile was sharp. "Smart girl. Yes, there's a catch. You'll live here full-time. No outside contact except supervised phone calls. You'll be surrounded by my world, my business, things you're better off not knowing. And if you betray my trust, if you put my son at risk in any way, there will be consequences." The threat hung in the air between them. "I'm not a nanny," Aria protested. "I don't have training or experience with traumatized children. But you have something better. You have whatever it is that makes Matteo feel safe." Vincent's expression softened, just barely. "I'm not asking you to fix him. I'm asking you to be there while he heals himself." Aria wanted to say no. Every instinct screamed at her to run from this dangerous man and his dangerous world. But then she thought about her mother, lying in that hospital bed, growing weaker every day. Thought about the creditors calling, the eviction notice, the impossible weight of trying to save someone she loved. "I need to think about it," she said. Vincent nodded. "You have 24 hours. After that, the offer expires." He pressed a button on his desk. The woman in the black suit appeared to escort Aria out. "Miss Foster," Vincent called as she reached the door. "One more thing. Your mother has an appointment with her oncologist tomorrow morning at 9. You might want to be there." The casual way he said it made Aria's blood run cold. It wasn't a suggestion. It was a reminder that Vincent Romano knew everything about her life, could touch every part of it if he chose. She left the mansion feeling like she'd just been offered a deal with the devil. That night, Aria sat by her mother's hospital bed. Helen Foster looked so small beneath the white sheets, her skin nearly translucent. The machines beeped steadily, tracking a life that was slipping away. "Mom," Aria whispered, taking her mother's hand. "I don't know what to do." Helen's eyes fluttered open. Even sick, even dying, she managed a smile. "Hey, baby girl. I got offered a job today. It pays really well. Enough to cover everything. That's wonderful." Helen's voice was weak, scratchy. "But it's complicated. And maybe dangerous." Helen squeezed her daughter's hand with what little strength she had. "Life is dangerous, Aria. Living scared isn't living at all." Before Aria could respond, her mother's eyes widened. Her hand went to her chest. The machine started screaming. "Mom? Mom! Nurses flooded the room, pushing Aria aside. She watched in horror as they worked on her mother, trying to stabilize her heart rhythm. She's in V-fib. Charging to 200. Clear. Helen's body arched off the bed. The monitor showed erratic spikes, then a flat line, then spikes again. A doctor appeared, taking charge. After 15 minutes of controlled chaos, Helen's heart rhythm stabilized. But the doctor's face was grave when he pulled Aria aside. Your mother needs emergency surgery. A triple bypass. Without it, she has days, maybe a week. How much? Aria asked, though she already knew the answer would be impossible. With your insurance, you'd be looking at about $40,000 out of pocket. And we'd need a deposit before we could schedule. I don't have $40,000. Aria's voice cracked. I don't have $4,000. The doctor's expression was sympathetic but firm. Then I'm afraid we'll have to keep her comfortable and... No. Aria shook her head violently. No, she's not dying. She's not. She stumbled out of the hospital, barely seeing where she was going. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Your mother needs surgery. Consider my offer. Aria stared at the message, hands shaking. How did he know? How did he always know? Another buzz. This time, a notification from her bank. A deposit had been made. $45,000. From an anonymous source. A third message appeared. Surgery scheduled for 6 a.m. Consider this in advance. The clock is ticking. Aria sank onto a bench outside the hospital. Vincent Romano had just paid for her mother's life-saving surgery, which meant she was already in his debt, already owned by him. She had no choice. She'd never had a choice. At midnight, she texted back a single word. Yes. The response came immediately. My driver will pick you up tomorrow at noon. Pack for 6 months. Welcome to the family, Miss Foster. Aria looked up at the stars, wondering what she'd just agreed to. Behind her, in the shadows of the parking garage, a black SUV idled. Inside, Vincent Romano watched Aria through tinted windows. He'd known she would agree. Desperate people always did. But what he hadn't told her, what he couldn't tell her, was that her mother's doctor was already on his payroll. That the cardiac episode had been induced. That he'd manufactured this entire crisis to force Aria's hand. Vincent Romano always got what he wanted. And what he wanted was someone who could save his son. No matter what it cost. Chapter 3. The Romano estate looked different in daylight. Less like a fairy tale and more like a fortress. Aria pressed her face against the window of the black SUV as the driver pulled through the gates. Her stomach churned with anxiety and second thoughts. Her mother's surgery had gone well. Helen was stable, recovering, with round-the-clock care that Aria could never have afforded. That thought was the only thing keeping Aria from begging the driver to turn around. The car stopped in front of the mansion. Before Aria could open her door, a woman appeared. She was in her 50s, gray hair pulled into a severe bun, wearing a housekeeper's uniform. Miss Foster. I'm Claudia, the head of household staff. Come with me. No warmth in the greeting. No welcome. Just cold efficiency. Aria grabbed her 2 battered suitcases and followed Claudia inside. The staff they passed in the hallways all stared at her with open hostility. Aria heard whispers. Another gold digger. Give her a month before Mr. Romano gets bored. Poor Matteo. Another stranger in his life. Aria's cheeks burned, but she kept her head high. Claudia led her to the 3rd floor, down a corridor lined with paintings of stern-faced ancestors. She stopped at a door and pushed it open. Your room. Mr. Romano expects you presentable for dinner at 7. Matteo's room is next door. Do not disturb him without permission. Then she was gone, leaving Aria alone in a bedroom that was bigger than her entire apartment. A 4-poster bed dominated the space. French doors led to a balcony overlooking manicured gardens. Everything was cream and gold and expensive. Aria set her suitcases down and immediately felt out of place. She didn't belong here, in this world of wealth and danger. A soft knock interrupted her thoughts. Come in, she called. The door opened and Vincent stepped inside. He wore dark slacks and a white button-down shirt, sleeves rolled to his elbows. Somehow, he looked even more dangerous in casual clothes. Miss Foster, I trust your mother's surgery went well. You know it did, Aria said quietly. You probably knew before I did. Vincent's lips curved slightly. You're learning. Good. That will help you survive here. Is that what I'm doing? Surviving? We're all just surviving, Aria. Some of us are just better armed than others. He walked to the window, looking out. There are rules you need to understand. First, you never leave the estate without my permission and an armed escort. Second, you don't ask questions about my business. Third, everything you see and hear here stays here. Break these rules and our agreement ends. Understand? Yes. Good. Matteo is in his room. I'd like you to meet him properly. Vincent led her next door and knocked gently before entering. The room was a child's dream. Toys everywhere, a train set, shelves of books. But it felt unused, like a stage set rather than a lived-in space. Matteo sat on the floor by the window drawing. He looked up when they entered, and his eyes widened when he saw Aria. "Hi, Matteo," Aria said softly, kneeling a few feet away from him. "Remember me?" The boy nodded slowly. "Your dad asked me to stay here for a while. To spend time with you. Is that okay?" Another nod, this one more certain. "Can I see what you're drawing?" Matteo hesitated, then slid the paper toward her. Aria's breath caught. The drawing was crude but clear. A woman with dark hair lying on the ground, red crayon everywhere. A small boy in the corner, hiding. His mother's murder. Aria looked at Vincent, who stood rigid in the doorway, jaw clenched. This was what his son drew. This was what lived in Matteo's head. "That must have been very scary," Aria said gently to Matteo. "I'm sorry you had to see something so frightening." Matteo's eyes filled with tears, but he didn't cry. He just stared at her with that devastating, haunted expression. "You know what I do when I'm scared?" Aria continued. "I draw happy things. Things I wish were real. Want to try that together?" She pulled out a fresh sheet of paper and some crayons. Slowly, carefully, she drew a simple tree with a swing. Then she drew two stick figures, a small boy and a woman with curly hair. "See, this could be us. Maybe we could go outside and find a tree with a swing. Would you like that?" For the first time, Matteo's expression softened. He took a crayon and added birds to the sky. Then flowers on the ground. Color slowly replacing the darkness of his previous drawing. Vincent watched from the doorway, something unreadable in his eyes. Over the next week, Aria fell into a routine. Mornings with Matteo doing art therapy, reading stories, slowly building trust. Afternoons exploring the estate grounds, always with armed guards shadowing them at a distance. Evenings having silent dinners while Vincent worked in his study. The staff's hostility didn't ease. Claudia criticized everything Aria did. The cook complained about special meal requests for Matteo. The guards muttered about babysitting duty. But Matteo was responding. He smiled sometimes. He held Aria's hand when they walked in the gardens. He even laughed once, when Aria made funny voices reading a story. Vincent noticed. He watched them constantly, appearing silently in doorways, observing. On the 8th day, Aria was going through Matteo's closet, looking for a jacket, when she found a box tucked in the back. Inside were photos. Matteo as a baby. Matteo with his mother, a beautiful woman with kind eyes. More photos, these ones showing Vincent and his wife together, almost smiling. And then newspaper clippings. Articles about Celeste Romano's death. Gang violence, the papers said. Wrong place, wrong time. But tucked between the clippings was something else. A police report, heavily redacted. Aria skimmed it, her heart pounding. The location of Celeste's death. Inside the Romano estate. The suspected shooter, unknown. No arrests made. Celeste wasn't killed by a rival gang in some random attack. She was killed here. In this house. And someone had covered it up. Looking for something? Aria jumped, dropping the box. Vincent stood in the doorway, his expression carved from ice. "I was just finding a jacket for Matteo and I found." "You found things that don't concern you," Vincent finished, his voice deadly quiet. He crossed the room in 3 strides and picked up the box. "I told you not to ask questions about my business. Your wife's murder isn't business, it's none of your concern." Vincent's hand shot out, gripping Aria's arm. Not hard enough to hurt, but hard enough to make his point. "You're here for Matteo. Nothing else. Am I clear?" "You're hurting me," Aria said quietly. Vincent released her immediately, something flickering across his face. "Regret? Shame?" It was gone too quickly to identify. "Stay out of things you don't understand," he said, his voice softer now. "For your own safety." He left, taking the box with him. That night, Aria couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about those clippings, about Celeste dying in this house, about Matteo witnessing it. What kind of world had she entered? She got up and wandered to the window. The gardens were lit by moonlight, beautiful and serene. Then she saw movement. A figure in the shadows. Aria pressed closer to the glass. Someone was out there, watching the house. As she stared, the figure looked up, directly at her window. The moonlight caught his face for just a second. A man mid-30s, with features similar to Vincent's. But there was cruelty in this face, a coldness that went beyond Vincent's controlled danger. The man smiled, raised a hand in a mocking salute, then disappeared into the darkness. Aria stumbled back from the window, her heart racing. Who was that? What did he want? A scream pierced the night. Aria ran into the hallway. Other doors flew open. Staff members appeared, confused and frightened. The scream came again. Matteo's room. Aria burst through the door to find Matteo thrashing in his bed, trapped in a nightmare. She rushed to him, gathering him in her arms. It's okay, baby. I'm here. You're safe. Matteo's eyes flew open, wild and terrified. Then he saw Aria, and his small body went limp against her. He clung to her, finally making sounds. Not words, but desperate whimpers. Vincent appeared in the doorway, breathless, gun in hand. He'd clearly been prepared for an attack. When he saw it was just a nightmare, relief flooded his face. Is he hurt? Vincent demanded. No, just scared. Aria rocked Matteo gently. Bad dream. Vincent holstered his gun and approached slowly. He reached out to touch his son, but Matteo only burrowed deeper against Aria. The pain on Vincent's face was raw, unguarded. His own son preferred a stranger's comfort to his. I'll stay with him, Aria said softly. Vincent nodded stiffly and left. Aria carried Matteo to the rocking chair by the window and held him while he calmed. She sang softly, an old lullaby her mother used to sing. Gradually, Matteo's breathing evened out. His eyes drifted closed. Mama, he whispered, so quiet Aria almost missed it. Her heart clenched. I'm here, sweetheart. I'm here. As Matteo slept in her arms, Aria looked out the window at the gardens below. Somewhere out there, danger lurked. Someone was watching them, and she was trapped in a house full of secrets and violence, responsible for a traumatized child who'd already lost so much. What had she gotten herself into? The next morning, Aria woke still in the rocking chair, Matteo asleep against her chest. Every muscle ached. Sunlight streamed through the windows. Vincent stood in the doorway, watching them. He'd been there a while, Aria realized. Just watching his son sleep peacefully for the first time in months. He called me Mama last night, Aria said quietly, not wanting to wake Matteo. Vincent's expression tightened. I know. I heard. I'm sorry. I didn't. Don't apologize. Vincent's voice was rough. He hasn't called anyone anything in 6 months. Even if it's not me, at least he's speaking. He turned to leave, then stopped. There was someone in the gardens last night. My brother, Dominic. He's testing our security. Vincent's eyes met hers, deadly serious. Stay close to the house. Stay close to the guards. And if you see Dominic again, run. Before Aria could respond, Vincent was gone. That afternoon, Aria took Matteo outside to draw. They sat in the garden while guards patrolled the perimeter. Matteo was sketching flowers when he suddenly went rigid, his crayon freezing mid-stroke. Aria followed his gaze. A man approached, smiling, hands in his pockets. The same man from last night. Dominic Romano. Well, Dominic said, his voice smooth and cold. The famous Aria. My brother's latest acquisition. I need you to leave, Aria said, pulling Matteo behind her. Dominic laughed. Protective already? How sweet. He crouched down, trying to see Matteo. Hey there, nephew. Remember me? Matteo whimpered and hid behind Aria's legs. Get away from him, Aria said, voice shaking. Or what? Dominic's smile widened. You'll tell Vincent? He already knows I'm here. I have permission to visit family. Guards approached, but they didn't intervene. They just watched, uncertain. Matteo witnessed something terrible, Dominic continued, still smiling that cruel smile. Didn't you, little man? Saw your mama die right in this very garden. Right over there, actually. He pointed to a spot near the fountain. Matteo made a strangled sound. Stop it, Aria shouted. Bang, Dominic whispered, making a gun with his fingers. That's what it sounded like, wasn't it, Matteo? Bang, bang, bang. Something in Aria snapped. She didn't think, didn't plan. She just slapped Dominic Romano across the face as hard as she could. The sound echoed through the garden. Everyone froze. The guards moved forward, hands on weapons. Dominic's smile disappeared, replaced by cold fury. You just made a very big mistake, he said softly. Then chaos erupted. A shot rang out. Aria heard it a split second before something slammed into her shoulder, spinning her around. She fell, Matteo tumbling with her. Pain exploded through her body. Warm blood soaked her shirt. Another shot. Then another. Guards returned fire. Dominic disappeared behind a hedge. Vincent appeared from nowhere, gun drawn, roaring orders. He dropped beside Aria, his hands pressing against her wound. "Stay with me," he commanded. "Look at me, Aria. Stay with me." But Aria's eyes were on Matteo, who knelt beside her, his small hands pressed to her face. Tears streamed down his cheeks. "Don't go," Matteo whispered, the first real words he'd spoken. "Don't leave me. Please don't leave me like Mama did." Then everything went black. Chapter 4. Aria woke to the smell of antiseptic and the steady beep of monitors. Pain radiated from her shoulder, but it was the sound of soft crying that pulled her fully conscious. Matteo sat beside her bed, head resting on the mattress, shoulders shaking with silent sobs. When he noticed her eyes open, his head shot up. "You're awake," he whispered, his voice hoarse from disuse. Aria tried to speak, but her throat was too dry. Matteo quickly grabbed a cup of water with a straw and held it to her lips. The role reversal would have been funny if everything didn't hurt so much. "How long?" she managed after drinking. 2 days. "You got shot. The bullet went through your shoulder. The doctor said you were lucky." "Lucky. That was one word for it." The door opened and Vincent entered. He looked terrible, like he hadn't slept since the shooting. His eyes went to Aria, and something in his expression cracked. "You're awake." His voice was rough. "Apparently getting shot earns me the master's concern," Aria said, trying for humor but failing. Vincent crossed the room in 3 strides. "You nearly died protecting my son. Don't make jokes." "Matteo," Aria said gently, looking at the boy. "Can you give me and your father a minute?" Matteo hesitated, then nodded. He hugged Aria carefully, avoiding her injured shoulder, then left the room. As soon as the door closed, Vincent exploded. "What were you thinking?" he demanded. "You slapped Dominic. You provoked a man who kills for sport." He was tormenting Matteo. Aria shot back, anger giving her strength. He was describing his mother's murder in graphic detail to a traumatized 5-year-old. What was I supposed to do? Vincent's jaw clenched. "You were supposed to let the guards handle it. Not put yourself in the line of fire." The guards were doing nothing. They just stood there while he tortured that little boy. "Because Dominic has every right to be on this property. He's family. I can't ban him without starting a war." Vincent ran his hand through his hair, frustration radiating from him. "Do you understand what you've done? You've painted a target on your back. Dominic doesn't forget insults. He'll come after you." "Then send me away," Aria said quietly. "Pay me whatever you think I've earned and let me go home to my mother." "No." The single word hung between them. "No," Aria repeated. "You can't keep me here against my will." Vincent leaned close, his hands gripping the sides of her bed. "Matteo spoke because he thought he was losing you. He's been at your bedside for 2 days, refusing to leave, talking to you while you were unconscious. Do you know what that means? You've become his lifeline. If you leave now, it will destroy him. So I'm a prisoner. You're protected. There's a difference." Vincent's voice softened slightly. "Dominic's shooter is dead. My men took care of him. But Dominic himself escaped. Until I deal with him, you stay here where I can keep you safe." "This is insane," Aria whispered. "Welcome to my world." Over the next week, Aria healed. The pain in her shoulder dulled to a persistent ache. Matteo barely left her side, talking now in full sentences, telling her about his day, his fears, his memories of his mother. "She used to sing to me," Matteo said one afternoon as they sat in the garden, guards visible everywhere now. "She had a pretty voice." "Do you sing?" "Sometimes," Aria admitted. "Will you sing to me?" So Aria sang, soft lullabies and old songs, while Matteo rested against her good shoulder. She didn't notice Vincent standing in the doorway, watching them with an expression that was becoming harder to read. That evening, Vincent summoned her to his study. Aria went reluctantly, still weak from her injury. "Sit," Vincent said, pouring 2 glasses of whiskey. He handed her one. "I don't drink. Tonight you do. Doctor's orders. It'll help with the pain." Aria took the glass but didn't drink. "Why am I here?" Vincent sat across from her, studying her face like he was trying to solve a puzzle. "I've been thinking about something. When you got shot, your first instinct was to cover Matteo with your body. You didn't think about yourself. You didn't hesitate. He's a child. Of course I protected him. Most people freeze in that situation. Even trained professionals hesitate. But you didn't. Vincent leaned forward. Why? Aria thought about the question. Because he's already lost so much. Because he deserves someone to choose him. Because in that moment, protecting him was the only thing that mattered. Something shifted in Vincent's expression. You mean that? Of course I mean it. What kind of person do you think I am? I'm starting to wonder. Vincent took a long drink. My wife, Celeste, she wasn't a good mother. She loved Matteo in theory, but in practice, she found him inconvenient. She wanted the image of family without the reality of it. This was the first time Vincent had spoken about his wife voluntarily. Aria stayed quiet, letting him continue. When she died, I thought Matteo would grieve and eventually move on. Children are resilient, everyone said. But he didn't move on. He shut down completely. And I realized he wasn't just grieving his mother. He was grieving the mother he wished he'd had. Vincent, Aria said softly. Then you appeared. And in 2 months, you've given him more genuine affection than Celeste gave him in 5 years. Vincent's eyes met hers, and there was something raw in them. You're not doing this for money anymore, are you? No, Aria admitted. I love him. I don't know when it happened, but I do. That's what I thought. Vincent stood and walked to the window. That's also what makes this complicated. What do you mean? Vincent turned to face her. Dominic knows you're my weakness now. He's already tried to kill you once. He'll try again. And next time, I might not be able to stop him. So what do you want me to do? Hide forever. I want you to understand the danger you're in. I want you to be careful. Vincent stopped, jaw clenching. I want you to survive this. The intensity in his voice made Aria's heart skip. Why does that matter to you? Because Matteo needs you. Just Matteo? The question hung between them. Vincent crossed the room slowly, stopping inches from her chair. He looked down at her, and Aria saw the war happening behind his eyes. If I answer that honestly, everything changes, he said quietly. Maybe everything needs to change. Vincent's hand came up, his fingers brushing her cheek, so gently it felt like a question. Aria leaned into the touch, her breath catching. Then Vincent was kissing her, one hand cupping her face, the other carefully avoiding her injured shoulder. The kiss was desperate, like he'd been holding back for too long, and his control had finally shattered. Aria kissed him back, her good hand fisting in his shirt, pulling him closer. This was insane. This was dangerous. This was the worst possible idea. She didn't care. Vincent pulled back, breathing hard. This can't happen. Why not? Because I'll destroy you. Everyone I love ends up destroyed. I'm already destroyed, Aria said. I got shot. I'm trapped in a mansion surrounded by killers. My old life is gone. Maybe I want to choose what happens next. Vincent's thumb traced her bottom lip. If we do this, Dominic will use it against us. He'll see you as more than just Matteo's nanny. You'll become my weakness, and he'll exploit that. Then we'll deal with it together. Vincent kissed her again, slower this time, thorough, like he was memorizing the taste of her. When he pulled back, his forehead rested against hers. You're either the bravest woman I've ever met or the most foolish. Can I be both? He laughed, a real laugh, and the sound transformed his face. For just a moment, he looked like a different man. Someone who wasn't weighted down by violence and responsibility. Then his phone buzzed. The moment shattered. Vincent checked the message, and his expression went cold. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Your mother's doctor just reported something concerning. Her blood work shows traces of arsenic poisoning. Someone's been poisoning her slowly. Aria's world tilted. What? That's impossible. She's in a private room with round-the-clock care. Care that I arranged. Care that I'm paying for. Vincent's voice was tight. Which means someone in my organization is working for Dominic. The implications hit Aria like a truck. He's poisoning my mother to control me. Yes. We have to stop him. We have to. We will, Vincent interrupted. But first, I need you to listen carefully. I'm moving your mother to a different facility, one Dominic doesn't know about. She'll have new doctors, new security. She'll be safe. How do you know? Because I'm putting her under the protection of someone outside my organization. Someone Dominic can't touch. Relief flooded through Aria, followed immediately by anger. How long have you known about the poisoning? Vincent's silence was answer enough. How long? Aria demanded, standing despite the pain in her shoulder. 3 days. You've known for 3 days that someone was poisoning my mother, and you didn't tell me? I was handling it. I didn't want to worry you while you were recovering. She's my mother. You had no right to keep this from me. I had every right, Vincent shot back. You're under my protection, which means I make decisions about your safety and your family's safety. I'm not your property. No, you're my responsibility. There's a difference. Aria wanted to scream, to rage, to hit him. Instead, she did something she knew would hurt more. She stepped back, putting distance between them. Don't touch me again, she said coldly. Don't kiss me, don't pretend this is anything other than what it is. I'm here for Matteo. That's all. Pain flashed across Vincent's face. Aria, I need to check on your son. Excuse me. She left before he could respond, her heart breaking with every step. But she only made it halfway down the hall before the lights went out. Emergency generators kicked in, bathing everything in red light. Alarm sirens wailed. Aria heard shouting, gunfire in the distance. Strong hands grabbed her, yanking her backward. She tried to scream, but a hand clamped over her mouth. Quiet, a voice hissed in her ear. Not Vincent. Someone else. Aria struggled, but her injured shoulder made her weak. Her attacker dragged her through a side door, into a corridor she'd never seen before. More gunfire. Closer now. The sound of breaking glass. Then Vincent's voice roaring through the chaos. Find her. Find Aria. But Aria couldn't answer. She was being pulled deeper into the darkness, away from safety, away from Matteo, away from everything. The last thing she heard before something hard cracked against her skull was Matteo screaming her name. Then nothing. Aria woke to the smell of mildew and blood. Her head throbbed. Her shoulder screamed. She tried to move and realized her hands were zip-tied behind her back. She was in a warehouse, empty except for a single chair where she sat and a table a few feet away. Matteo was there too, also tied up, tears streaming down his face. Matteo, Aria croaked. Are you hurt? Before he could answer, slow applause echoed through the warehouse. Dominic Romano stepped out of the shadows, smiling that cruel smile. Touching, he said. The nanny and the orphan. It's almost poetic. Let him go, Aria demanded. Whatever you want, he's just a child. Oh, I know exactly what he is. He's leverage. Dominic crouched in front of Matteo, who flinched away. See, my dear brother loves this little brat. And now, thanks to you, he loves you too. Which gives me 2 pieces of leverage instead of 1. The warehouse door crashed open. Vincent entered, flanked by armed men. His face was a mask of barely controlled fury. Dominic, he said, his voice deadly calm. Let them go. Or what? Dominic stood, pulling a gun and pressing it to Matteo's head. You'll shoot me? Your own brother? Without hesitation. Dominic laughed. I don't think so. You've always been soft, Vincent. It's why father chose me to inherit the business. But you killed him and took it for yourself. And now I'm taking it back. This isn't about business, Vincent said. This is about you being a sadistic bastard who can't stand that I'm better than you. Better. Dominic's face twisted with rage. You let your wife die because you were too weak to see the threat. You let your son become a mute vegetable because you couldn't protect him. And now you've brought this nobody waitress into our world and pretended she could fix everything. She's worth more than you'll ever be. Then let's test that. Dominic moved the gun from Matteo's head to Aria's. You have 10 seconds to sign over control of the family. The businesses, the territory, the money. Everything. Or I kill her. Then I kill Matteo. Then I kill you. Don't do it, Aria said quickly. Vincent, don't you dare give him anything because of me. Shut up, Dominic snapped, cocking the gun. Vincent, please, Aria continued, her eyes locked on his. Matteo needs you alive and free. Don't let this monster win. 8 seconds, Dominic said. Vincent's men shifted, fingers on triggers. But they couldn't shoot without risking Aria and Matteo. 6 seconds. I love you, Aria said to Vincent, the words tumbling out. I love you, and I love Matteo, and you need to let me go. Save your son. That's all that matters. For seconds. Vincent's face was anguished. His hand moved to his inside pocket, pulling out papers. The transfer documents Dominic wanted. 3 seconds. I'll sign, Vincent said, his voice breaking. Just don't hurt them. Dominic smiled triumphantly. Put it on the table. As Vincent moved forward, Aria made a decision. She'd been working at the zip ties, and the cheap plastic had started to give. With one final twist, her hands came free. She lunged forward, throwing herself at Dominic. Her injured shoulder screamed, but she didn't care. She knocked him off balance, the gun flying from his hand. Now! Aria screamed. Vincent's men opened fire. Dominic dove for cover. In the chaos, Aria grabbed Matteo, shielding him with her body as bullets tore through the warehouse. Then searing pain exploded in her abdomen. She looked down and saw blood spreading across her shirt. Dominic had gotten the gun. He'd shot her. Aria heard Vincent roar with rage. Heard the sound of fists meeting flesh, bones breaking. Heard Dominic screaming. But she couldn't focus on any of that. She could only hold Matteo, trying to keep pressure on her wound while the world spun. Aria! Matteo was sobbing, his small hands trying to stop the bleeding. Don't leave me. Please don't leave me. I won't, Aria whispered, though she could feel her life draining away. I promise. Vincent appeared, his hands covered in blood. Dominic's blood, she realized distantly. He pressed his own hands over her wound, his face white. Stay with me, he commanded. Aria, look at me. Stay with me. Matteo, Aria managed. Take care of him. You're going to take care of him. You're not dying. I won't let you die. But Aria's vision was fading. She could hear sirens in the distance. Could feel Vincent lifting her, running, shouting orders. The last thing she saw was Matteo's terrified face. The last thing she heard was Vincent saying, Don't leave me. I love you. Please don't leave me. Then darkness swallowed everything. Chapter 5. Aria didn't dream. She didn't see white lights or feel peace. There was just nothing, a vast emptiness that stretched forever. Then pain dragged her back. She gasped, her eyes flying open. Machines beeped frantically. Hands pushed her down gently but firmly. She's awake. Get the doctor. Voices swirled around her. Medical jargon she couldn't process. Something about blood pressure and internal bleeding and miracle. Then Vincent's face appeared above hers, and she'd never seen anyone look so relieved. You're alive, he said, his voice hoarse. You're actually alive. Matteo, Aria croaked. Safe. He's safe. He's with my aunt in the waiting room. He wanted to be here, but the doctors wouldn't allow it. Aria tried to sit up, but agony stopped her. She looked down and saw bandages covering her entire midsection. A doctor appeared, a kind-faced woman in her 50s. Miss Foster, I'm Dr. Chen. You've been in a medically induced coma for 3 weeks. You were shot in the abdomen. The bullet damaged several organs. We had to remove part of your intestine and one of your ovaries. 3 weeks. Aria's mind struggled to process that. Am I going to be okay? She whispered. Dr. Chen's expression grew somber. You'll live, yes. But there are complications. The damage to your reproductive system was severe. The likelihood of you ever carrying a pregnancy to term is less than 5%. I'm sorry. The words hit Aria like a physical blow. She'd never thought much about having children before, but hearing that the choice was gone forever felt like losing something vital. Can I have a moment alone? She asked quietly. Vincent started to protest, but Dr. Chen ushered him out. Alone, Aria let the tears come. She cried for the future she'd never have, for the children she'd never bear, for the normal life that had been torn away from her the moment she'd helped a lost boy in a restaurant. When Vincent returned an hour later, Aria had composed herself. She'd made a decision. I want to see Matteo, she said. Are you sure? The doctor said you need rest. I need to see him. Please. Vincent nodded and left. Minutes later, Matteo burst through the door, his aunt trying to hold him back. When he saw Aria awake, he ran to her bedside. You're okay, he sobbed. They said you might not wake up. They said you might die. I'm here, Aria said, taking his hand. I'm not going anywhere. Matteo climbed carefully onto the bed beside her, curling against her good side. I was so scared. I kept drawing pictures of you getting better, but I didn't know if it would work. Your pictures worked perfectly, Aria assured him. I felt them all the way in my sleep. Matteo pulled back to look at her face. Do you still love me? Even though this happened because of me. Oh, sweetheart. Aria cupped his face. None of this is your fault. And yes, I love you. I'll always love you. Promise. I promise. Matteo settled against her again, and within minutes, he was asleep, exhausted from weeks of worry. Vincent stood in the doorway, watching them. When their eyes met, Aria saw a depth of feeling that took her breath away. We need to talk, she said quietly. Vincent approached, sitting in the chair beside her bed. He looked terrible. Dark circles under his eyes, days of stubble on his jaw, rumpled clothes. When's the last time you slept? Aria asked. I don't remember. After I thought I'd lost you, sleep seemed unimportant. Vincent, Dominic is dead, Vincent interrupted. I killed him with my bare hands while you were bleeding out. The FBI has been circling, asking questions. My organization is in chaos. And all I've been able to think about is you waking up. Why? Because I love you. The words came out raw, honest. I fought it. I told myself it was just about Matteo, that you were just convenient. But then I saw you take that bullet, and I knew. You're not convenient. You're everything. Aria's heart clenched. I can't have children. The doctor said. I heard. I don't care. You should care. You should want someone who can give you more children. Someone who isn't broken. Vincent stood abruptly. Don't. Don't you dare call yourself broken. You're the strongest person I know. You survived being shot twice. You protected my son with your life. You made me feel something other than rage for the first time in years. If you think I care about anything other than you being alive, you're wrong. Your world did this to me, Aria said, voice shaking. Your brother, your business, all of it. How am I supposed to stay in a world that destroys everything it touches? You're not. Vincent ran his hand through his hair, frustration and determination warring on his face. I'm getting out. I've been working with the FBI for months, giving them information on every family in the organization. In exchange, Matteo and I get witness protection. Aria stared at him. You're leaving the Mafia? I'm burning it to the ground. Dominic's death gave me the perfect opening. Half the families are scrambling for power. The other half are trying to cut deals with law enforcement. I'm testifying against all of them, and then I'm disappearing. Where will you go? Wherever you want to go. Vincent knelt beside the bed, taking her free hand. Come with us. You and me and Matteo. We'll start over somewhere safe. I'll be whoever you need me to be. A carpenter, a teacher, anything but this. Vincent, I know I'm asking too much. I know I've brought you nothing but pain. But I'm asking anyway because I'm a selfish bastard who can't imagine living without you. Aria looked at Matteo, still sleeping peacefully against her side. Then at Vincent, this dangerous man who'd somehow become her entire world. My mother, she said. What about her? She's been moved to a secure facility in Colorado. Clean air, good doctors, no one from my world knows where she is. I've set up a trust to cover her care for the rest of her life. You've thought of everything. I've had 3 weeks of sitting in this hospital room with nothing to do but plan our future. If you'll have one with me. Aria closed her eyes, weighing everything. The smart choice was to walk away, take the money she'd earned, rebuild her life somewhere far from Vincent and his world. But when she opened her eyes and saw him looking at her like she was the only thing keeping him tethered to humanity, she knew she'd already made her choice. Yes, she whispered. Vincent's face transformed. He leaned up and kissed her forehead, her cheeks, finally her lips. Gentle, reverent kisses that tasted like tears. Thank you, he breathed against her mouth. Thank you. The next 6 weeks were a blur. Aria healed slowly, her body rebuilding itself piece by piece. FBI agents came and went, taking Vincent's testimony, offering protection. Matteo thrived, his nightmares lessening as he understood they were leaving the mansion and all its dark memories behind. Plans were made. New identities created. A small coastal town in New Zealand chosen for its isolation and beauty. But 2 days before they were supposed to leave, Aria found something that changed everything. She was going through documents Vincent had left in his study, making sure nothing incriminating remained, when she found a folder tucked in the back of a drawer. Inside were photographs. Recent ones. A woman with dark hair standing on a beach. The same woman at a cafe. The same woman laughing with a man. The woman was Celeste, Vincent's dead wife. Very much alive. Aria's hands shook as she flipped through police reports, private investigator notes, bank records. The story they told was devastating. Celeste had faked her death. She'd hired people to stage her murder, to traumatize her son, all so she could escape the Mafia life with her lover. She'd never intended for Matteo to witness it, but something had gone wrong. The men she'd hired got spooked and fired real shots. Celeste had run, leaving her 5-year-old son to cope with the trauma of watching his mother die. The folder contained her current location. Sicily. Living under a new name with her boyfriend, working at an art gallery, free and happy while her son suffered. Aria felt sick. She thought about telling Vincent, but what would that accomplish? It would destroy him. It would destroy Matteo. Sometimes the truth did more harm than good. She was about to put the folder back when Vincent appeared in the doorway. What are you doing? Aria turned, and Vincent saw what she held. His face went white. How long have you known? She asked quietly. 4 months. Since before I met you. You've known Celeste was alive for 4 months, and you didn't tell anyone? Vincent entered the study, closing the door. I was trying to protect Matteo. He saw his mother shot. If he found out she'd done it intentionally, that she'd abandoned him, it would break what little recovery he's made. So you were just going to let him believe she was dead forever? Yes. Vincent's voice was firm. Some lies are kinder than the truth. That's not your decision to make alone. I'm his father. It's exactly my decision to make. Aria stood, ignoring the protest from her healing body. Matteo deserves to know his mother is alive. He deserves the choice of whether to see her or not. He's 5 years old. He can't make that choice. Then we make it for him. But we don't lie to him. Not about this. Vincent's expression hardened. If we tell him, if we go to Sicily, Celeste's new life could be exposed. The families will find her. They'll kill her for faking her death and embarrassing the Romano name. Good, Aria said coldly. She traumatized her own child for her freedom. She deserves whatever consequences come. You don't mean that. Don't I? That woman left her son to suffer. She chose a man over her child. I have no sympathy for her. Vincent stepped closer. This isn't about sympathy. This is about protecting Matteo from more pain. If we go to Sicily, if we drag him into this, he'll be hurt again. I won't allow that. And I won't allow him to grow up believing a lie. Aria held up the folder. I'm going to Sicily. I'm going to confront Celeste and find out why she did this. Then I'm going to decide whether Matteo should know. You can come with me, or you can stay here. Your choice. You're recovering from a major injury. You can't travel internationally. Watch me. They stared at each other, neither backing down. If you do this, Vincent said quietly, you could destroy everything. Our future, Matteo's healing, all of it. Or I could give Matteo the truth, which is what he deserves. Vincent was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed, defeat in every line of his body. Fine. We'll go to Sicily. But we do it my way, with my security on my terms. And if at any point I think Matteo is in danger, we leave. Agreed. Agreed. 3 days later, they landed in Sicily. Vincent had called in favors, arranged everything. Matteo thought they were on vacation before moving to New Zealand. He was excited, drawing pictures of beaches and gelato. Aria felt like she was walking to an execution. They found Celeste at the art gallery where she worked. She looked different. Happier. Lighter. Like she'd shed a heavy weight and become someone new. When she saw Vincent walk through the door, all the color drained from her face. No, she whispered. You can't be here. Hello, Celeste, Vincent said coldly. Or should I call you by your new name? Elena Rossi? Celeste's eyes darted around the empty gallery. How did you find me? I've known where you were for months. I just didn't care enough to come looking. Until now. Celeste's gaze shifted to Aria, then widened when she saw Matteo hiding behind her. Is that? Her voice broke. Is that my son? Your son? Vincent's laugh was bitter. You lost the right to call him that when you traumatized him for life. Celeste stepped forward, tears streaming down her face. I never meant for him to see it. The men I hired, they panicked. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. But it did happen, Aria said, her voice hard. And your son hasn't spoken for 6 months. He has nightmares. He draws pictures of your death over and over. Because you were too selfish to think about anyone but yourself. You don't understand, Celeste sobbed. I was dying in that world. The violence, the fear, being married to a man I didn't love. I couldn't do it anymore. So you destroyed your child instead? Aria's anger was cold and sharp. You could have divorced Vincent. You could have taken Matteo and run. Instead, you made him watch you get shot. I thought he would forget. He was so young. Children don't forget trauma. They carry it forever. Celeste sank into a chair, her face in her hands. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I think about him every day. But I can't go back. I finally have a life worth living. Vincent's hands clenched into fists. Aria saw him struggling with the urge to violence. Then Matteo stepped out from behind Aria. Mama, he said quietly. Celeste's head shot up. For a long moment, mother and son stared at each other. Matteo, Celeste breathed. You're so big. You're not dead, Matteo said. There was no joy in his voice. Just confusion and hurt. No, baby. I'm not dead. Why did you leave me? The question was simple. Devastating. Celeste had no good answer. I was sick, she tried. In my head. I needed to get better. You could have taken me with you. I couldn't. It was too dangerous. That's a lie, Matteo said with a certainty that broke Aria's heart. Aria says people who love you don't leave you. She got shot protecting me. Twice. You only got shot pretending so you could leave. The comparison was brutal. True. Celeste reached out, but Matteo stepped back, pressing against Aria. I don't want you to be my mama anymore, Matteo said. Aria is my mama now. She chooses to stay. The words hung in the air. Vincent's expression was unreadable. Celeste looked like she'd been struck. Before anyone could respond, the gallery door burst open. Men in suits poured in, guns drawn. Aria's blood went cold. She recognized one of them. One of the families from Vincent's organization. Vincent Romano, the lead man said. We've been looking for you. Imagine our surprise when we got a tip that you were here in Sicily, visiting your supposedly dead wife. Vincent positioned himself between the men and his family. This doesn't concern you, Luca. Oh, but it does. See, Celeste here made us all look like fools. The family spent months investigating her death, hunting for her killers. And all along, she was alive. That's an insult we can't ignore. I'm testifying against the families, Vincent said flatly. In 2 days, everything you've built will come crashing down. Killing me won't stop that. We know, but killing you will make us feel better. Luca's gun shifted to Celeste. And killing her will send a message. No one makes fools of us. Everything happened at once. Vincent lunged for Luca. Gunfire erupted. Aria grabbed Matteo and dove behind a sculpture. Celeste screamed. More gunfire. The sound of bodies hitting the floor. Matteo was crying, and Aria held him, shielding him with her body even though every instinct screamed at her to run. Then silence. Aria peeked out. 3 of Luca's men were dead. Luca himself was on the ground, Vincent's knee on his throat. Vincent's own men had appeared from nowhere, guns trained on the remaining attackers. But Celeste was bleeding. She'd been shot in the chest, her blood spreading across the gallery floor. Vincent released Luca and ran to his ex-wife. He pressed his hands to the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. No, 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 he muttered. Stay with me, Celeste. Stay with me. Celeste's eyes were glazing over. She looked past Vincent to where Aria held Matteo. Take care of him, she whispered. You're the mother he needed. I'm sorry I wasn't. Don't talk, Vincent said, his voice breaking. Help is coming. But they all knew it was too late. Celeste reached up and touched Vincent's face. I'm sorry. For everything. You deserved better. Then her hand fell. Her eyes stared at nothing. Matteo made a strangled sound. Aria turned him away, preventing him from seeing his mother die a second time. Vincent stayed kneeling in Celeste's blood, his face blank with shock. Police sirens wailed in the distance. Vincent's men were already moving, erasing evidence, preparing escape routes. We need to go, one of them urged. Now, Vincent stood slowly. He looked at Aria and Matteo, and something in his expression cracked. I'm sorry, he said. I'm so sorry. I brought you into this. I got her killed. Aria crossed to him and took his hand. We leave now. We grieve later. Matteo comes first. Vincent nodded numbly. They ran. Chapter 6. I opened my eyes to white ceiling tiles and the steady beep of machines. My throat felt like sandpaper. Every part of my body ached with a deep, bone-tired pain that told me I had been here a long time. She's awake. A nurse's voice, urgent and relieved. Vincent's face appeared above me, and I had never seen such raw emotion on anyone before. His eyes were red-rimmed, his face haggard. He looked like he had aged 10 years. Aria. My name came out like a prayer. Thank God. Thank God. I tried to speak, but my mouth wouldn't cooperate. A nurse held a cup of water to my lips, and I drank greedily. How long? I finally croaked. 3 weeks, Vincent said, his hand gripping mine like I might disappear. You were in a coma for 3 weeks. The doctors said if you made it through the first week, you had a chance. But it was close. So close. 3 weeks. I had lost 3 weeks of my life. Matteo, I managed. Safe. Healthy. Driving everyone crazy asking when you'll wake up. Vincent's attempt at a smile fell flat. He hasn't left the hospital. My aunt practically has to drag him home to sleep. A doctor entered, a woman with kind eyes and graying hair. She checked my vitals, shined lights in my eyes, asked me questions about my name and the date. Miss Foster, I'm Dr. Chin. You're very lucky to be alive. The bullet caused significant internal damage. We had to perform emergency surgery to repair your intestines and remove one of your ovaries. The words took a moment to sink in. Remove one of my ovaries. What does that mean? I asked, though part of me already knew. Dr. Chen's expression grew gentle. It means your chances of conceiving naturally are significantly reduced. Not impossible, but the likelihood of carrying a pregnancy to term is less than 5%. I'm very sorry. The room seemed to tilt. Vincent's hand tightened on mine, but I couldn't look at him. I couldn't look at anyone. Can I have a moment alone? I whispered. They filed out, even Vincent, though he hesitated at the door like he wanted to refuse. When the door clicked shut, I let myself break. The tears came hot and fast, soaking the hospital pillow. I had never thought much about having children. My life had been too chaotic, too focused on survival. But knowing the choice was gone, that my body had been damaged beyond repair, felt like losing a piece of myself I didn't know I needed. I cried for the future that would never exist. For the babies I would never hold. For the woman I used to be before bullets and blood and violence became my reality. When Vincent returned an hour later, I had composed myself. My eyes were puffy, my face blotchy, but I was done crying. I want to see Matteo, I said. Are you sure? You need rest. Now, Vincent. Please. He nodded and left. Minutes later, the door burst open and Matteo ran in, his aunt trying to catch him. Aria. He climbed onto the bed, careful of the tubes and wires, and threw his arms around my neck. You're awake. You're really awake. Hey, sweetheart, I said, holding him as tight as my injuries allowed. I'm here. I thought you were going to die like Mama did. I kept drawing pictures of you getting better, but the doctors said you might not wake up. His small body shook with sobs. I'm too stubborn to die, I told him, trying to lighten the mood. Besides, I promised I wouldn't leave you, remember? Matteo pulled back to look at my face, his eyes searching. Do you still love me? Even though you got hurt because of me? My heart shattered. Matteo, listen to me. None of this is your fault. Not one single bit. And yes, I love you. I will always love you. Promise? I promise with my whole heart. He settled against my side, and within minutes, exhaustion claimed him. He fell asleep right there on my hospital bed, his hand clutching my hospital gown. Vincent stood in the doorway watching us, his expression unreadable. We need to talk, I said quietly, careful not to wake Matteo. He approached and sat in the chair beside the bed. Up close, I could see how much the last 3 weeks had cost him. Deep circles under his eyes, weight loss, the kind of exhaustion that came from keeping a vigil you weren't sure would end well. When did you last sleep? I asked. I don't remember. After seeing you bleed out in that warehouse, sleep seemed unimportant. He ran a hand through his hair. Dominic is dead. I killed him. The FBI has been circling like sharks. Half my organization wants my head for cooperating with law enforcement. And all I could think about was you waking up. Vincent, I love you. The words came out raw and honest. I tried to tell myself it was just about Matteo, that you were convenient. But watching you almost die, I knew. You're not convenient. You're everything. My throat tightened. I can't give you children. You heard what the doctor said. I don't care. You should care. You should find someone whole, someone who isn't broken. Vincent stood abruptly, anger flashing across his face. Don't you dare call yourself broken. You took 2 bullets protecting my son. You survived things that would destroy most people. You're the strongest person I know. If you think I care about anything except you being alive, you're wrong. But your world did this to me, I said, my voice shaking. Your brother, your business, all the violence. How am I supposed to build a life in a place that destroys everything? You're not. Vincent knelt beside the bed, taking my hand. I'm getting out. I've been working with the FBI for months, giving them everything. Names, locations, operations. In exchange, Matteo and I get witness protection. New identities, new life, somewhere safe. I stared at him, barely processing his words. You're leaving the Mafia? I'm burning it all down. Dominic's death gave me the opening I needed. The families are at war with each other, scrambling for power. I'm testifying against all of them. And then I'm disappearing. Where will you go? Wherever you want. His eyes searched mine. Come with us. You, me, and Matteo. We'll start over somewhere safe. New Zealand, maybe. Small town, quiet life. I'll be whatever you need me to be. My mind raced. My mother. Already handled. She's in a secure facility in Colorado, far from anyone connected to my world. I've set up a trust fund to cover her care for life. She'll want for nothing. You've thought of everything. I had 3 weeks of sitting in this hospital room with nothing to do but plan a future. If you'll have one with me. I looked at Matteo sleeping peacefully against my side. Then at Vincent, this dangerous man who had somehow become my entire world. The smart choice was to walk away, take my money, and rebuild far from him. But my heart had already decided. Yes, I whispered. Vincent's face transformed. He leaned up and kissed my forehead, my cheeks, finally my lips. Gentle kisses that tasted like salt and relief. Thank you, he breathed. Thank you for giving us a chance. Chapter 7. 6 weeks later, I was moving through Vincent's study, packing documents for our move. My body had healed, though I still tired easily. The scar on my abdomen was a constant reminder of how close I had come to death. We were leaving in 2 days. New identities waited. A house in New Zealand was ready. Matteo was excited about living near the ocean. Everything was falling into place. That's when I found the folder. It was tucked in the back of a drawer, hidden beneath tax documents and old contracts. Inside were photographs that made my blood run cold. A woman with dark hair standing on a beach. The same woman at a cafe laughing. The same woman shopping in a market. Celeste, Vincent's dead wife. Very much alive. My hands shook as I flipped through private investigator reports, bank statements, and location tracking. The story they told was devastating. Celeste had faked her death. She had hired men to stage her murder, never intending for Matteo to actually witness it. But something had gone wrong. The men panicked and fired real shots. Celeste ran, leaving her 5-year-old son traumatized while she built a new life in Sicily with her lover. She was alive, happy, free, while her son suffered nightmares and couldn't speak for 6 months. Rage burned through me, hot and fierce. What are you doing? I spun around. Vincent stood in the doorway, and the color drained from his face when he saw what I held. How long have you known? I asked, my voice deadly calm. 4 months. Since before I met you. 4 months. I laughed, but there was no humor in it. You've known Celeste was alive for 4 months, and you said nothing? Vincent stepped inside and closed the door. I was protecting Matteo. He saw his mother die. If he learns she faked it, that she abandoned him on purpose, it will destroy him. So you were just going to lie to him forever? Yes. No hesitation. Some lies are kinder than the truth. I stood, ignoring the pull of healing tissue. Matteo deserves to know his mother is alive. He deserves the choice of whether to see her. He's 5 years old. He can't make that choice. Then we make it for him. But we don't lie. Not about this. Vincent's expression hardened. If we tell him if we go to Sicily, her new life gets exposed. The families will find her. They'll kill her for the insult of faking her death. Good, I said coldly. She traumatized her own child. She deserves whatever comes. You don't mean that. Don't I? That woman abandoned her son. She chose her freedom over her child. I have no sympathy. Vincent stepped closer. This isn't about sympathy. It's about protecting Matteo from more pain. If we drag him into this, he'll be hurt again. And I won't let him grow up on a lie. I held up the folder. I'm going to Sicily. I'm confronting Celeste. Then I'll decide if Matteo should know. You can come or stay. Your choice. You're still recovering. You can't travel. Watch me. We stared at each other, neither backing down. The air crackled with tension. If you do this, Vincent said quietly, you could destroy everything. Our future, Matteo's healing, all of it. Or I could give him the truth, which he deserves. Vincent was silent for a long moment. Then he sighed, defeat in every line of his body. Fine. We go to Sicily. But my way. My security. My terms. And if Matteo is in danger at any point, we leave immediately. Agreed. Agreed. 3 days later, we stood in a small art gallery in Sicily. Matteo thought we were on vacation before moving to New Zealand. He was drawing in a corner, happy and oblivious. Celeste looked different. Lighter. Like she had shed a heavy burden and become someone new. When she saw Vincent walk through the door, terror flashed across her face. No, she whispered. You can't be here. Hello, Celeste, Vincent said coldly. Or should I use your new name? Elena Rossi? Her eyes darted around the gallery. How did you find me? I've known where you were for months. I just didn't care enough to visit. Until now. Celeste's gaze shifted to me, then widened when she saw Matteo in the corner. Is that my son? Your son. Vincent's laugh was bitter. You lost that right when you traumatized him for life. Celeste stepped forward, tears streaming. I never meant for him to see it. The men I hired panicked. It wasn't supposed to happen that way. But it did happen, I said, my voice hard as stone. And Matteo didn't speak for 6 months. He has nightmares. He draws pictures of your death over and over. Because you were too selfish to think beyond yourself. You don't understand. Celeste sobbed. I was dying in that world. The violence, the constant fear, being married to a man I didn't love. I couldn't survive it. So you destroyed your child instead? My anger was ice cold. You could have divorced Vincent. You could have taken Matteo and run. Instead, you made him watch you get shot. I thought he would forget. He was so young. Children never forget trauma. They carry it forever. Celeste collapsed into a chair, face in her hands. I'm sorry. I think about him every day. But I can't go back. I finally have a life. Vincent's fists clenched. I could see him fighting the urge to violence. Then Matteo walked over, his drawing forgotten. Mama, he said quietly. Celeste's head snapped up. Mother and son stared at each other across an impossible distance. Matteo, Celeste breathed. You're so big now. You're not dead, Matteo said. No joy. Just confusion and hurt. No, baby. I'm not dead. Why did you leave me? Such a simple question. Such a devastating one. Celeste had no good answer. I was sick. In my head. I needed to get better. You could have taken me. It was too dangerous. That's a lie, Matteo said with heartbreaking certainty. Aria says people who love you don't leave. She got shot protecting me. Twice. You only got shot pretending so you could leave. The comparison was brutal. True. Celeste reached out, but Matteo stepped back against me. I don't want you to be my mama anymore, he said. Aria is my mama now. She chooses to stay. Before anyone could respond, the gallery door exploded inward. Men in dark suits poured in, guns drawn. My blood turned to ice. I recognized one. A family from Vincent's organization. Vincent Romano, the lead man said. Imagine finding you here, visiting your supposedly dead wife. That's quite the story. Vincent positioned himself between us and them. This doesn't concern you, Luca. But it does. Celeste made us all look like fools. We spent months investigating her death. And she was alive the whole time. That's an insult we can't ignore. I'm testifying against the families, Vincent said flatly. In 2 days, everything you built comes down. Killing me won't stop it. We know, but it'll make us feel better. Luca's gun shifted to Celeste. And killing her sends a message. Everything happened at once. Vincent lunged. Gunfire erupted. I grabbed Matteo and dove behind a sculpture, covering him with my body. Celeste screamed. More shots. Bodies hitting the floor. Matteo crying in my arms. Then silence. I looked up. 3 of Luca's men were dead. Luca was on the ground, Vincent's knee on his throat. Vincent's security had appeared, guns trained on the survivors. But Celeste was bleeding. Shot in the chest, blood spreading across the floor. Vincent released Luca and ran to his ex-wife, pressing his hands to the wound. No, stay with me, he said urgently. Help is coming. But we all knew. Her eyes were already glazing. Celeste looked past Vincent to where I held Matteo. Take care of him, she whispered. You're the mother he needed. I'm sorry I wasn't. Don't talk, Vincent said, voice breaking. Just hold on. Celeste touched his face. I'm sorry. For everything. You deserved better. Her hand fell. Her eyes stared at nothing. Matteo made a sound like a wounded animal. I turned him away, shielding him from seeing his mother die again. Vincent knelt in Celeste's blood, face blank with shock. Police sirens wailed. Vincent's men were already moving, erasing evidence. We need to go, one urged. Now. Vincent stood slowly, looking at me and Matteo with an expression that made my heart break. I'm sorry, he said. I brought you into this. I got her killed. I crossed to him and took his hand. We leave now. We grieve later. Matteo comes first. He nodded. We ran. Chapter 8. 6 months later, I stood on a beach in New Zealand, watching Matteo chase waves. The ocean stretched endlessly before us, blue and peaceful. No guns. No violence. No looking over our shoulders. We had new names now. Vincent was Marcus Webb, a furniture maker. I was Emma Webb, an art teacher at the local elementary school. Matteo was just Matteo, because changing a child's first name felt like erasing too much of who he was. Our house was small, perched on a cliff overlooking the sea. Nothing like the Romano mansion. But it was ours, earned through witness protection and Vincent's testimony that had brought down 5 crime families. Mama, Matteo called, waving at me. Come see what I found. Mama. He called me that now without hesitation. The word still made my chest tight with emotion. I walked down to where he crouched in the sand, examining a shell. "It's beautiful," I said, kneeling beside him. "Like you," he said matter-of-factly, then ran off to find more treasures. Strong arms wrapped around me from behind. Vincent rested his chin on my shoulder. "He's happy," Vincent murmured. "I wasn't sure we'd ever get here. We almost didn't. But we did. Because of you." I leaned back against him, letting his warmth surround me. 6 months ago, we had fled Sicily covered in Celeste's blood. 6 months of debriefings, relocations, and slowly building a new life. 6 months of therapy for Matteo, helping him process not one but 2 traumatic experiences with his mother. "Do you miss it?" I asked. "Your old life?" Vincent was quiet for a moment. "I miss the power sometimes. The control. Knowing I could fix any problem with money or force." He turned me to face him. "But then I come home to you and Matteo laughing in the kitchen, or I watch him play without fear, and I realize I don't miss it at all. That life was killing me slowly. This life is saving me. Even though you're building furniture instead of running an empire? Especially because of that." He smiled, and the expression transformed his face. He looked younger here, lighter. "I'm good with my hands. And there's something satisfying about creating instead of destroying. Very philosophical, Mr. Webb. Mrs. Webb has that effect on me. Mrs. Webb. We weren't married yet, but we would be soon." Vincent had proposed last week, on this same beach, with Matteo as his accomplice. They had both gotten down on one knee, Matteo holding a ring made of twisted wire and shells. "Will you marry us?" Matteo had asked. "We need you. Forever." I had said yes through tears. The wedding was planned for next month. Small, just us and a few friends we had made in town. No one from our old lives. Just the family we had chosen. "I got a call today," Vincent said, his expression growing serious. "From the FBI. The trials are wrapping up. Most of the families are going to prison for life. That's good news." "It is. But it also means we're truly free now. No more looking over our shoulders. No more threat of retaliation. We can just be." The weight of those words settled over me. Free. We were actually free. "What do you want to do with that freedom?" I asked. Vincent pulled me closer. "I want to marry you. I want to watch Matteo grow up safe and happy. I want to build furniture and come home to you every night. I want boring and normal and peaceful." "That sounds perfect." Matteo ran back to us, dragging a piece of driftwood twice his size. "Look, can we make something with this, Papa?" Papa. Another word that had taken time but finally stuck. "Absolutely," Vincent said, ruffling his hair. "What should we make?" "A boat. A big one that Mama can ride in." "I don't know if I trust your boat-building skills," I teased. "You trusted me with your life," Vincent said softly. "You can trust me with a boat." That night, after Matteo was asleep, Vincent and I sat on our back porch watching the stars. The sound of waves was a constant lullaby. "Do you ever think about what would have happened if you hadn't helped Matteo that night?" Vincent asked. "If you had just let the police take him?" "Every day," I admitted. "My life would be completely different. Probably easier. Probably safer. Definitely safer." I took his hand. But I wouldn't change it. Every bullet, every terror, every moment of pain led me here. To you. To Matteo. To this life. Even knowing you can't have children? The old wound throbbed, but it didn't hurt like it used to. Even knowing that. Because Matteo chose me just as much as I chose him. Biology doesn't make a family. Love does. Vincent kissed my temple. "We could adopt. Give Matteo siblings. If you want. Maybe someday," I said. "Right now, I just want to enjoy what we have." We sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars wheel overhead. "Aria," Vincent said suddenly. "That's not my name anymore, remember? I'm Emma now. Legally, yes. But you'll always be Aria to me. The woman who saved my son. Who saved me." He turned to face me. "I never thought I'd have this. Peace. Real love. A chance to be someone better than I was. You are better than you were. Because you make me want to be." He cupped my face. "Thank you. For taking a chance on a dangerous man and his broken son. You weren't dangerous. You were desperate. There's a difference." I smiled. And Matteo was never broken. Just hurt. Like all of us. Vincent kissed me then, slow and deep, pouring everything he couldn't say into the kiss. When we pulled apart, we were both breathless. "Come on," I said, standing and pulling him up. "Let's go check on our son." Our son. The words felt right. We tiptoed into Matteo's room. He was sprawled across his bed, covers kicked off, one arm hanging over the side. His nightlight cast gentle shadows, and the walls were covered with his drawings. Happy ones now. Beaches and boats and families holding hands. Vincent pulled the covers over him gently. Matteo stirred but didn't wake. He's going to be okay, Vincent whispered. We're all going to be okay, I corrected. As we left the room, I caught my reflection in the hallway mirror. I looked different than I had 6 months ago. Softer somehow. The hardness that came from constant survival had faded, replaced by something like contentment. I had scars now, inside and out, but they were proof that I had survived, that I had fought for something worth having. What are you thinking? Vincent asked. That I'm happy, I said simply. For the first time in years, I'm actually happy. Good. He pulled me close. You deserve happiness. You deserve everything. I already have everything. Right here. The next morning, I woke to the smell of pancakes. I found Vincent and Matteo in the kitchen, both wearing matching aprons, flour everywhere. We're making breakfast, Matteo announced proudly. I can see that, I said, surveying the disaster. Should I be worried? Only a little, Vincent admitted. We may have used too much flour. And eggs, Matteo added. The first batch went on the floor. I laughed, the sound bright and free. This was my life now. Messy kitchens and burnt pancakes and a little boy covered in batter. It was chaotic and imperfect and absolutely perfect. Come here, you disasters, I said, pulling them both into a hug. Matteo squeezed tight. I love you, Mama. I love you too, sweetheart. Vincent's arms wrapped around both of us. My family, he said softly. Yes, our family. Not bound by blood, but by choice. By sacrifice. By love that had survived bullets and betrayal and everything the world had thrown at us. We had all been broken in different ways. Vincent by his violent past. Matteo by trauma. Me by circumstances beyond my control. But somehow, in breaking, we had found the pieces that fit together. We had become whole not despite our scars, but because of them. Can we go to the beach after breakfast? Matteo asked. After we clean this kitchen, I said firmly. And after I teach Matteo that flour goes in the bowl, not on the ceiling, Vincent added. It was an accident. Their bickering continued as we cleaned up together, working as a team. And I realized this was what I had been searching for all along. Not a fairy tale. Not a rescue. Just this. A normal, messy, beautiful life with people who chose to stay even when things got hard. That evening, as the sun set over the ocean, Vincent took my hand. Next month, he said, you'll officially be Mrs. Webb. I already am. The paper just makes it legal. Still, I want to do it right. Give you the wedding you deserve. I deserve this, I said, gesturing to our house, to Matteo building sandcastles on the beach. A man who loves me. A son who chose me. A life worth living. That's more than I ever dreamed of having. Vincent pulled me close, and we stood there watching Matteo play, the ocean endless before us, the future bright and open. We had survived the darkness. We had fought our way to the light. And now, finally, we could just live. Sometimes family isn't about blood. It's about who's willing to bleed for you, survive with you, and choose love when the world offers only darkness. We had chosen each other, and that made all the difference. Thank you so much for watching this story. If you enjoyed it, please subscribe to my channel for more heartfelt and emotional stories like this one. Don't forget to like this video and leave a comment sharing your thoughts. I'd love to hear from you. Your support truly means the world and helps me create even more amazing content for you. Make sure to turn on notifications so you never miss a new story. See you in the next video.